Well, good afternoon, YouTube and YTPC. I'm just in this cellar this afternoon because it's bitter cold out there, and I was doing a lot of sort of last garden stuff, putting out stuff for the birds and all that. So the shed is a bit of a mess at the moment, so I decided to come inside and as I do after 2 or 3 hours doing this and that, and having a pipe in my CJ Christmas pipe here, corn cob that I got maybe a couple of years ago. Merry Christmas on the stem. Have a look at Milan Tobacco and CJ's cobs, because they're just lovely, and this was a commission so he'll do those if you say, look, I want this, or one of his previous generation pipes that are not on offer at the moment. He'll get around to it, and he does a lovely job, I think. And the paint holds very good. It doesn't get so hot that it flakes or anything like that, so this is worn well, and every Christmas gets quite a bit of smoking. 6mm. I've got my Savinelli filter in there, and in the bowl I've got a bit of a mongrel mix, of a bit of Lord Methley that was left that I haven't jarred up, and a bit of Otter Creek, and a bit of Sutcliffe Holiday Spice. Sutcliffe Christmas Spice it was, yeah. But actually it's very nice, with a bit of that blackberry from Lord Methley and a bit of vanilla from Otter Creek, and a bit of that sort of allspice clovey thing from the Sutcliffe Christmas Spice. So pretty good. Anyway, I wanted to just do a short VR to Average Jon, who basically asked us to tell about their favourite aromatic and a Christmas story. So, are you sitting all comfortably? Then I'll begin. Well, the first part is real quick, because everybody knows I love Sir Walter Raleigh aromatic, and that's still, I'm sorry, it's still today #1. After all the aromatics, even comparing to Rich Dark Flake and the most legendary, fantastic and hard to get, this is it. I'm telling you, this is, if this were a woman, I would marry her, because every time I go to it, it's always behaving so perfectly, and it's a lovely smoke and just the right level of sweetness and flavours, and no tongue bite, and so it's love. It's not more rational anymore with this one. So that's that, and Christmas story, I tell you, go back to 1987, and I was a young man, and I decided to emigrate from Britain and take a job up in Switzerland with a chemical company in the valleys in the southern part of Switzerland. And I came over with just a suitcase like a bloody refugee, I was a student before that, hardly had any possessions, and hardly any money, and not many clothes. So, I came into the immigration in Geneva, and they said you have to do an X-ray just to make sure you haven't got tuberculosis. So about 3 or 4 years after that, they said, well, maybe we won't do that anymore, because tuberculosis plague was back in the 1930s. But I really felt like, I was one of the boat people or some immigrant, and I had to register, and then they did an Interpol investigation, which they do for everyone who gets a work permit in Switzerland. I was just on a simple work permit in the early days. And my German was poor, I mean, I had scientific German. I could translate patents and things like that you had to do, or in the chemical literature, but in terms of buying some washing powder and stuff like that, I was starting at ground zero. So I had the BBC German, Learn German books at that time with cassettes, and watched all the TV and children's films and the news to try and understand as much as possible. Anyway, that is not the story. The story starts on Christmas Eve 1987, when some friends who were from Ireland and from Australia, who'd come over in some cases years before, to work for the same company, were very kind and said, well, come on, we'll have a Christmas Eve drink. And I was at a little village called Birken. It's about 1,000 or 1,500 meters. It's not really up in the high Alps, but it's at a sort of elevation where they get a fair amount of snow, and we were talking there, and we knew it would snow. There was already snow around that year, and we'd all had a bit of wine, and I was talking about whiskies at the time, and we got ourselves a little shot to try some Irish whiskies from the Irish friends who were there. And I looked out the window and I saw these incredible snowflakes, who were, each snowflake looked about as big as my hand. I thought, what is that? Now I remember as a 5-year-old kid in England seeing these really big snowflakes, and I said, I must go out and have a look at this. Let's go and have a look. And they were used to this kind of snowfall, so they sort of smiled and said, well, poor old English guy hasn't probably seen snow since he was a kid. And I went out on the doorstep and watched these snowflakes falling, and everything was so quiet, because the snowflakes suppress the permeation of sound, and most people are sort of trying not to go out, even in a car, when it's so heavily snowing. You could hear them fall. You could hear the snowflake hit the ground with just a little. And some of them had linked up and were spinning around like they were doing a dance. And once or twice I even saw a ring of these snowflakes who linked together and were spinning down. And I thought, my God, this is magical. This is so enchanting, and isn't it marvelous? And so I wouldn't really go back in. They pulled me back in and said, you'll freeze to death. You need, by the way, you need to get a ski coat and stuff like that, and they were giving me all advice about the boots and fur-lined boots and stuff like that you have to get, to survive. Well, Christmas Day, we got onto the topic of Christmas Day the next morning, and they said, well, you want to go bit of skiing tomorrow, Well, I said, well, I can't really ski. I've done some dry slope practice before I came here, but, And they said, well, you just stick on the little easy slopes and where the kids practice and something like that, And, it's very cheap to or quite reasonable to rent boots and skis, because I didn't have any equipment at all, And one of them lent me a ski jacket, and another one lent me the trousers, because he says, you can't go out there in a pullover and jeans like years before. And there I was, about 9 o'clock the next morning, and they went up to the difficult part to ski and, gave me a few tips and said, the best way is to have a go, and then you learn every time you fall down. And I went up and down, and had great fun, and, fell over lots of times, and lots of little kids who were, the Swiss actually start learning how to ski at about the age of 3. You see mothers on the slopes talking to these little tiny, well, they look like babies, and like a mother bird with her little chicks saying, oh, come on, you do this is how you do it. And so by the time they're like 10, they're sort of expert skiers, and they thought this fool grown-up who couldn't ski at all was most amusing. But I had a great morning, and then after that, after a whole morning of that, you get a bit tired, so went to have my bratwurst rösti, which is just a big sausage grilled with hash browns and a little onion gravy. Just very simple dish. You get it all the resorts in Switzerland, but it's absolutely delicious. And a big glass of, half-litre glass of beer. And I sat there in the sunshine thinking, this is paradise, this is paradise. Here I am, Christmas Day, where I came from in England, everything was closed, If you were lucky, maybe a pub might be open somewhere, but, it was like, this, to think I could do something like this on Christmas Day and have these beautiful views and have such fun. And I thank God for my fortune that I had landed there, and all these worries I had coming into the country, and I thought I will make this work because it's just so beautiful here. And that Christmas in 1987 is one I will never forget, for sure. So that's my story, and there's a few others which I'll tell another time, but that's the number one story I would fish out in my case. Do have a look at Average Jon's channel, because he's really growing fast. He's going to make 200 subs, and he's really does some very interesting talks about the tobaccos and his experience with them, and I think he's a great contributor to YTPC. So have a look and subscribe and help all of these great new entrants to making videos to grow their channels and encourage them, because they will be the next generation, and we need to Just like that lady skier looking after the 3-year-old child, help them to become expert, you know, and one day they'll be much more expert than any of us. So you all take care, everyone. My next talk with you will be in a different location in southern Switzerland about a week from now, but I'll see you then. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.